Lucky American coins. Imagine finding an ordinary-looking 1-cent coin in a jar of loose change, a coin that most people would immediately dismiss as nothing more than a common penny, and then discovering that the tiny piece of metal in your hand is not quite ordinary at all. Imagine turning it over under bright light, examining the date, studying the mint mark, looking closely at Lincoln's portrait, and suddenly noticing something that seems different. Maybe the lettering appears unusual. Maybe the date looks doubled. Maybe the coin has a strange shape. Maybe the design seems to have been struck off center. Or perhaps there is a mysterious mark that makes you wonder whether the coin escaped the United States Mint with a genuine production error. This is exactly the kind of discovery that has fascinated coin collectors for generations, and it is why the 1987 Lincoln cent continues to attract attention from people who search through old collections, inherited coin jars, bank rolls, the state boxes, and pocket change. The 1987 United States 1-cent coin belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series, one of the most recognizable coin series in American history. The Lincoln cent has been part of American everyday life for more than a century, and by 1987, the design had already undergone several important transformations. The coin still carried the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1987 cent therefore represents an important period in the history of the modern Lincoln Memorial penny, and although the majority of 1987 cents are common and generally worth close to their face value, unusual mint errors, varieties, and exceptionally high-grade examples can attract collectors and sometimes command prices far above 1 cent. The first thing to understand about a 1987 Lincoln cent is its basic physical identity. A standard 1987 cent weighs approximately 2.50 grams and measures approximately 19 millimeters in diameter. Its edge is plain rather than reeded, and the coin is made from copper-plated zinc. This composition is important because it helps distinguish the 1987 cent from older Lincoln cents made primarily from bronze or copper. The change to copper-plated zinc had already taken place in 1982, and by 1987 the zinc core, with a thin copper coating, was the standard composition for regular Lincoln cents. The coin's copper-colored appearance can sometimes lead inexperienced collectors to assume that the entire coin is made of copper, but that is not the case. Under the thin copper plating is a zinc core, which gives the coin its characteristic weight and composition. PCGS records the standard 1987 Philadelphia Lincoln cent as 2.50 grams in weight, 19.00 millimeters in diameter, and copper-plated zinc in composition. The word error is one of the most important words in the world of coin collecting, but it is also one of the most misunderstood. Not every unusual-looking coin is a genuine mint error. A coin can become scratched, damaged, bent, chemically altered, discolored, or intentionally modified after leaving the United States Mint. Such damage can sometimes look spectacular, but post-mint damage is usually not considered a valuable mint error. A genuine mint error occurs during the manufacturing process, when something goes wrong during planchet preparation, die production, striking, or another stage of the minting process. Because genuine errors are created unintentionally, collectors often find them fascinating, especially when the error is dramatic, rare, and clearly identifiable. This distinction becomes extremely important when discussing claims that a 1987 penny could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. From time to time, sensational claims appear online suggesting that an ordinary-looking penny with a rare error could be worth $100 million, $200 million, or even $292 million. These claims can generate enormous curiosity, but they should not automatically be treated as confirmed auction results. There is no verified evidence that a 1987 Lincoln cent has sold for $292 million. The documented market evidence is dramatically different. PCGS reports a recorded auction high of $1,920 for a regular strike 1987 Philadelphia cent graded MS 69 road, sold in April 2025. That is an impressive price for a modern penny, but it is nowhere near $292 million. That does not mean that the subject is uninteresting. In fact, the truth may be even more fascinating because the real world of coin collecting contains many genuine mysteries, unusual errors, rare die varieties, and high-grade coins that can transform a seemingly ordinary 1-cent piece into a collectible object. The key is learning how to separate a verified rarity from an internet rumor. The 1987 Lincoln cent was produced in enormous quantities. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced more than 4.68 billion examples of the standard 1987 cent, according to PCGS. That enormous mintage means that the ordinary 1987 Philadelphia penny is not considered a rare date in circulated condition. A person who finds a normal 1987 penny in everyday change should not assume that the coin is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Most examples remain worth approximately 1 cent in ordinary circulated condition. However, the story changes when a coin has a genuine mint error, a recognized die variety, or an unusually high level of preservation. The 1987 D repunched mint mark is a fascinating example because it demonstrates that not every valuable coin must have a dramatic, obvious error. Some varieties require magnification and careful study. A collector may need to examine the mint mark from multiple angles, compare the coin with known reference photographs, and possibly consult a professional attribution service. In the case of the 1987 DFS 501 variety, PCGS records an auction result of $1,800 for an MS 67 road example sold in August 2021. That price is a useful reminder that genuine rarity, condition, and collector demand can sometimes make a modern penny considerably more valuable than its 1-cent denomination suggests. At the same time, it is essential to understand the difference between a recognized variety and a spectacular mint error. A repunched mint mark is associated with the preparation and application of the mint mark, whereas an off-center strike, broad strike, clipped planchette, die crack, double die, or other striking anomaly can arise through different mechanisms. Each type of error has its own characteristics and its own collecting market. One of the most exciting errors a collector might hope to find on a 1987 cent is an off-center strike. An off-center error occurs when the planchette is not properly positioned between the dies when the coin is struck. The result can be a coin where the design is dramatically shifted toward one side, sometimes leaving part of the original blank planchette visible. The degree of off-center striking matters greatly. A slight shift may have limited value, while a dramatic off-center strike that still clearly displays the date can be much more desirable. The presence of the date is particularly important because collectors want to identify exactly what coin they are looking at. Another possible category is a broad strike. A broad strike occurs when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread beyond the normal diameter. The resulting coin can have a wider appearance and a distorted edge. To the untrained eye, this may look like damage, but an authentic broad strike has characteristics associated with the striking process. Determining whether a coin is truly a mint error often requires comparison with known examples and, for valuable pieces, professional authentication. A clipped planchette is another type of error that attracts attention. This happens when the blanking process used to cut planchets from metal strips produces a blank with a missing section. The result can be a coin with a curved or straight missing portion. Genuine clips can be identified by specific characteristics related to the metal flow and the shape of the affected area. A coin that has simply been cut or damaged after leaving the mint is not equivalent to a genuine clipped planchette. Die cracks can also create unusual appearances. As dies are repeatedly used, they can develop cracks or breaks. When a cracked die strikes coins, the crack can appear as a raised line on the finished coin. These lines can range from minor and barely visible to dramatic features that cross large portions of the design. Collectors sometimes enjoy studying die cracks because they provide evidence of the life and deterioration of a particular die. Die breaks can be even more dramatic. When a portion of a die breaks away, the resulting coins may show a raised area where the broken section of the die affected the strike. Large die breaks can produce what collectors sometimes call cuds. A significant cud can be visually impressive and may attract collectors who specialize in die varieties and eras. Another area that creates considerable confusion is doubling. When collectors see letters or numbers that appear to have a second image, they may immediately assume they have discovered a valuable doubled die. But not all apparent doubling is a genuine doubled die variety. Machine doubling, die deterioration, strike doubling, and other forms of distortion can create appearances that resemble true doubling. Genuine doubled dies are created during the die-making process and are recognized as varieties, while many forms of machine doubling occur during the striking process and may have much less collector value. This is why a magnifying glass alone is not always enough to determine whether a 1987 penny is valuable. A collector needs knowledge, reference material, and sometimes professional authentication. The most important first step is to avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and reduce collector appeal. Even if a coin looks dirty or tarnished, aggressive polishing can remove the natural surface that collectors value. The color designation of a Lincoln cent can also affect its market value. Collectors commonly classify copper-colored cents as brown, red-brown, or red, often abbreviated BN, RB, and Rhode. For modern copper-plated zinc cents, the grading and color designation can still play an important role in the marketplace. A coin with bright original surfaces and minimal marks may be much more desirable than a heavily circulated example. The concept of condition is central to coin collecting. A 1987 penny that has spent decades circulating through cash registers, pockets, vending machines, and drawers will naturally accumulate scratches, dents, discoloration, and wear. A coin that was protected from circulation and preserved in exceptional condition may look almost brand new. Professional grading companies assign numerical grades that attempt to communicate the quality and preservation of a coin. For a modern Lincoln cent, the difference between a high-grade coin and an average example can be substantial. PCGS records a $25 auction result for an MS-67 Rhode 1987 Philadelphia cent in an April 2019 auction, while an MS-68 Rhode example sold for $135 in an earlier auction. The same basic date and mint can therefore have dramatically different values depending on grade, color designation, rarity, and market demand. PCGS's current information also records the $1,920 auction result for an MS-69 Rhode 1987 Philadelphia cent in 2025. These numbers demonstrate the importance of condition, but they also show why a claim of $292 million should not be presented as a verified current market value. The history of the Lincoln cent itself is one of the reasons collectors find these coins so compelling. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909, marking a major moment in American coinage because Abraham Lincoln became the first real person to appear on a regularly circulating United States coin. The portrait was created by Victor David Brenner, whose design became one of the most enduring images in American numismatics. By 1959, the reverse of the Lincoln cent changed from the wheat ears design to an image of the Lincoln Memorial. The new reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo, and it remained on the cent through 2008. The 1987 penny therefore belongs to the Lincoln Memorial reverse era, a period that lasted for nearly 5 decades. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial appears at the center, with United States of America around the upper perimeter, the denomination 1 cent below, and the motto E pluribus unum above the building. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with liberty and the date positioned around the portrait, along with the familiar motto In God We Trust. The symbols and inscriptions on the coin are not random decorations. They reflect American history, government, national identity, and the ideals associated with the nation's political heritage. The word liberty represents a foundational principle of the United States. In God We Trust is the national motto. E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, expresses the idea of unity from diversity. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse connects the coin directly to one of America's most important historical figures, and to a monument dedicated to his memory. The small size of the cent makes the details even more remarkable. A coin measuring only about 19 millimeters across carries a portrait, multiple inscriptions, a national motto, a denomination, and a detailed architectural image. When collectors examine a coin under magnification, they are not simply looking at money. They are studying a miniature historical artifact created through a complex industrial process. The 1987 cent was struck during a period when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. The penny was used for everyday purchases, and billions entered circulation. Because so many were made, most surviving examples are not rare. Yet the massive production numbers also created opportunities for occasional mistakes and varieties to enter circulation. This is one of the great paradoxes of modern coin collecting. A coin can be common in its ordinary form, while a specific era or variety can be scarce. The date itself may be common, but a particular combination of date, mint mark, era, and grade can be much more difficult to find. This is why collectors should never evaluate a coin solely by its year. Suppose someone finds a 1987 penny with an unusual mark near the date. The first instinct may be to search online for 1987 penny worth millions. The internet may produce dozens of sensational results, including claims that certain examples are worth $292 million. But the correct approach is different. The collector should first identify the mint mark, examine the weight, inspect the surfaces, photograph the coin, compare the feature with known errors, and determine whether the unusual appearance could have been caused after the coin left the mint. Weight can be a particularly useful diagnostic tool. A normal 1987 copper-plated zinc cent should weigh about 2.50 grams. If a purported error weighs significantly more or less, that may raise questions about the planchette. However, weight alone does not prove rarity. Scale accuracy, dirt, damage, plating loss, and manufacturing tolerances must all be considered. A coin that weighs 2.50 grams is not automatically valuable, and a coin that weighs slightly differently is not automatically a rare error. The surface of a copper-plated zinc cent can also reveal clues. If the copper plating is missing or damaged, the exposed zinc core may appear silvery. Some people mistake a damaged or plated coin for a rare wrong metal error. Genuine wrong planchette or wrong metal errors are much more complicated and require strong evidence. A coin with a silver-colored appearance is not automatically a rare mint error. The same caution applies to coins that appear unusually dark, bright, shiny, or discolored. Environmental exposure can change a coin's appearance. Chemicals, moisture, heat, polishing compounds, and other substances can affect the surface. A coin that has been chemically altered after leaving the mint is not the same as a coin that was incorrectly manufactured. This is why authentication is so important when a coin appears genuinely unusual. Professional grading and authentication services can determine whether a coin is authentic, evaluate its condition, and, in some cases, attribute recognized varieties or errors. For a coin that might be worth a substantial amount, professional certification can provide buyers and sellers with greater confidence. The market for errors is driven by several factors. Rarity is one. The fewer known examples of a particular error, the more interesting it may become. Visibility is another. A dramatic, easily recognized error can attract more attention than a microscopic die variation. Condition is also important. A rare error in excellent condition may be worth much more than a similar error that is heavily worn or damaged. Collector demand is another major factor. A coin is ultimately worth what the market is willing to pay. A theoretical rarity without active collector interest may not produce a high price. Conversely, a coin with a strong collector following can attract competitive bidding. Auction history is one of the best ways to understand the real market. Instead of relying on viral videos or unverified social media posts, collectors should look for documented sales through established auction companies and recognized grading services. A recorded auction result is much stronger evidence than a claim that someone found a penny worth $292 million. The 1987 Lincoln cent provides an excellent example of this principle. The standard Philadelphia issue has a very large mintage, but an exceptionally high-grade MS-69 road example has achieved a documented $1,920 auction record according to PCGS. Meanwhile, the 1987 DFS 501 repunched mint mark variety has a documented $1,800 auction result for an MS-67 road example. These are real, documented examples of modern 1987 cents bringing prices far above face value. But neither result supports a $292 million valuation. The $292 million figure should therefore be understood as an unverified claim rather than a confirmed market price. If a video presents such a number, it should clearly explain that no verified sale at that level has been documented. This approach is not only more accurate, it also makes the content more trustworthy for viewers who are genuinely interested in numismatics. The most exciting possibility for a collector is not necessarily finding a coin worth millions. It is finding something that can be scientifically and historically explained. A genuine mint error is a small piece of evidence showing that a massive manufacturing system did not operate perfectly every time. A single coin can preserve a moment when something went wrong in the minting process. Imagine a planchette entering a coin press. The planchette is supposed to be correctly positioned between the obverse and reverse dies. The collar is supposed to contain the metal and help produce the correct shape. The dies come together under enormous pressure, transferring the design onto the blank. In a fraction of a second, the blank becomes a coin. If the planchette is improperly positioned, if a die is damaged, if a blank is incorrectly prepared, or if another mechanical problem occurs, the final product can become an error. That error may then enter circulation alongside millions of normal coins. Someone may receive it as change without realizing anything is unusual. It might pass through dozens of hands. That possibility is what keeps coin hunting exciting. The 1987 penny is particularly interesting because it belongs to a generation of coins that many people still remember using in everyday transactions. It is old enough to have spent decades circulating, yet modern enough that billions of examples were produced. A 1987 cent may have been carried in a child's pocket, used in a vending machine, dropped beneath a car seat, placed in a piggy bank, or stored in an old drawer. When collectors search through these coins, they are not only searching for monetary value. They are searching for history. The portrait of Lincoln connects the coin to the 19th century, even though the coin itself was made more than a century after Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial reverse connects the coin to the history of 20th century American coinage. The copper-plated zinc composition reflects a period of technological and economic change in the production of circulating coins. Even the plain edge is part of the coin's identity. Unlike many denominations that use reeded edges, the Lincoln cent has a smooth edge. When examining a suspected error, the edge can sometimes provide important evidence. A coin with an unusual edge may require closer examination to determine whether the appearance is the result of a minting error or post-mint damage. The date 1987 itself is also important. Collectors should examine the numbers carefully, but they should avoid assuming that every unusual-looking digit is a rare variety. Damage, scratches, and die deterioration can distort the appearance of numerals. A genuine double die has specific characteristics that distinguish it from ordinary damage or machine doubling. The same principle applies to the letters in Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and 1 cent. Collectors may notice apparent doubling or unusual shapes, but each feature must be evaluated carefully. A coin's value cannot be determined simply because a photograph looks unusual. The mint mark is another key element. A 1987 Philadelphia cent normally has no mint mark, while a Denver cent carries a D mint mark. A collector who sees a D on a 1987 penny should recognize that it indicates Denver production. The 1987 DFS 501 variety is especially interesting because it demonstrates how a mint mark variety can create a collectible distinction within a large production run. The search for a valuable 1987 penny should therefore begin with careful observation rather than sensational expectations. Look at the date. Check the mint mark. Weigh the coin accurately. Examine the edge. Inspect both sides under magnification. Compare the coin to reliable references. Take clear photographs. Avoid cleaning. If the coin appears genuinely unusual, consider professional authentication. The potential value of an ordinary 1987 penny is generally very low. A circulated example with no recognized error or variety may be worth approximately 1 cent. An uncirculated example may be worth more depending on grade and color. A very high-grade certified example can bring significantly more. A recognized variety or genuine mint error can command a premium. The most important question is always what exactly makes the coin unusual. This is the difference between a coin that is merely old and a coin that is collectible. Age alone does not determine rarity. A 1987 penny is not especially old by numismatic standards. Billions were produced. Many survive. But if one specific example contains a genuine mint error that occurred during production, that error can create additional collector interest. Even then, the error must be genuine. The Internet has created an enormous amount of excitement around error coins, but it has also created confusion. Images of damaged coins are often labeled as rare mint errors. Ordinary machine doubling is sometimes described as a valuable double die. Plating damage is sometimes called a wrong metal error. A coin with a scratch is sometimes presented as if the mint intentionally created a special variety. These misunderstandings can lead collectors to overestimate the value of their coins. The best collectors learn to slow down. Instead of asking, "How much is my penny worth?" they ask, "What exactly is this coin, and what happened to it?" That question changes everything. If the coin is a normal 1987 Philadelphia cent, the answer is straightforward. If it is a normal 1987 D cent, the answer is also straightforward. If it is a high-grade example, the grade becomes important. If it has a recognized die variety, attribution becomes important. If it appears to be an error, the type and authenticity of the error become critical. A coin's value is therefore the result of several interacting factors: date, mint, variety, error, condition, color, eye appeal, rarity, authentication, provenance, and current collector demand. The $292 million claim should be viewed through this framework. There is no verified evidence that a 1987 Lincoln cent has a current market value of $292 million. A responsible collector should not treat the figure as established fact. If such a coin were ever genuinely discovered, authenticated, and sold for anything approaching that amount, it would represent an extraordinary event in the history of American numismatics, and would require extensive documentation from major professional organizations and auction houses. For now, the documented market evidence is far more modest, but still interesting. The regular 1987 Philadelphia cent has reached $1,920 in an MS-69 road grade according to PCGS, while the 1987 DFS 501 repunched mint mark variety has reached $1,800 in MS-67 road. These prices show that a modern penny can indeed become valuable under the right circumstances, but they also demonstrate why collectors should distinguish between documented auction records and sensational claims. A person searching through a collection of 1987 pennies should therefore pay special attention to coins that appear dramatically different from normal examples. A strong off-center strike, an authentic clipped planchette, a significant die break, a genuine double die, a recognized repunched mint mark, or another documented error could make the coin worth considerably more than face value. But there is another important lesson here. The most valuable coin is not always the coin with the most dramatic appearance. Some rare varieties are subtle. Some require magnification. Some can only be identified by comparing die markers. Others require expert attribution. This is why serious collectors keep reference books, use magnification, and consult professional resources. The hobby rewards patience and knowledge. The 1987 Lincoln cent also provides an excellent example of how grading can influence value. Imagine two identical coins. Both were struck in 1987 at the Philadelphia Mint. Both have the same design and composition. One circulated for 20 years and has scratches, discoloration, and wear. The other was immediately placed into protective storage and remains nearly flawless. The coins share the same date, but they do not have the same market value. Now imagine a third coin. It has the same date and mint, but it also has a dramatic and authentic mint error. The market changes again. Then imagine that the error coin is professionally authenticated and receives a high grade. The coin becomes even more desirable. This progression explains why coin collecting is more complicated than simply looking up a year and assigning a price. For anyone who believes they have discovered a valuable 1987 penny, the safest approach is to preserve the coin exactly as it was found. Do not polish it. Do not scrape it. Do not attempt to remove stains with household chemicals. Do not bend it to test its metal. Do not drill or cut it. Do not use abrasive materials to make the details easier to see. Instead, handle the coin by its edges, photograph both sides, record its weight, and compare it with reliable references. If the coin appears promising, professional authentication may be the next step. The greatest value in a coin is often hidden in details that are easy to overlook. A tiny mint mark can matter. A few millimeters of off-center striking can matter. A small but genuine die variety can matter. A high grade can matter. Original surfaces can matter. A documented history can matter. And above all, authenticity matters. The 1987 Lincoln cent may not be a $292 million coin based on any verified market record, but that does not make it boring. In fact, it demonstrates one of the most important lessons in collecting: extraordinary value comes from extraordinary evidence. The real treasure is not simply the number someone places in a viral headline. The real treasure is the story behind the coin. A 1987 cent can tell the story of American manufacturing, modern coin composition, the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the history of the Lincoln Memorial design, the evolution of minting technology, and the fascinating world of errors and varieties. It can also teach collectors how to distinguish fact from speculation. When you look at a 1987 penny, you are looking at a coin that millions of people once ignored. Most people would see only 1 cent. A collector sees possibilities. Perhaps the coin is ordinary. Perhaps it is a high-grade survivor. Perhaps it carries a recognized die variety. Perhaps it has a genuine mint error. Perhaps it is simply an interesting reminder of the era in which it was made. The search begins with curiosity, but it should end with evidence. So, if you have a 1987 Lincoln cent in your collection, take a closer look. Examine the date. Check whether it has a mint mark. Study Lincoln's portrait. Look at the lettering. Inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Examine the edge. Weigh the coin. Compare it with known examples. If you believe you have found something unusual, do not immediately assume it is worth $292 million. Instead, ask the more important question: can the feature be proven to be a genuine mint-made error or recognized variety? That question is where serious coin collecting begins. And if the answer is yes, you may have discovered something genuinely special. Not necessarily a $292 million coin, because no such verified valuation is currently documented for a 1987 Lincoln cent, but perhaps a rare and fascinating piece of American numismatic history that deserves a place in a serious collection. The story of the 1987 penny is therefore not really about a magical number. It is about discovery. It is about the excitement of looking at something familiar and realizing that it may contain a hidden story. It is about understanding how billions of coins can be produced while a small number emerge with unusual characteristics. It is about learning the difference between an error and damage, between a variety and a defect, between a documented auction result and an internet rumor. And that is why the humble 1-cent coin continues to capture the imagination of collectors. A penny may be small. It may be common. It may be overlooked. But when the right combination of rarity, condition, authenticity, and demand comes together, that tiny piece of metal can become a remarkable collectible. The 1987 Lincoln cent is a perfect example of this fascinating world. Its standard specifications are straightforward: approximately 2.50 grams, approximately 19 millimeters in diameter, a plain edge, and a copper-plated zinc composition. The Philadelphia issue was produced in enormous numbers, with a recorded mintage of more than 4.68 billion, while the Denver issue had an even larger, recorded mintage of more than 4.87 billion. These figures make ordinary examples common, but they do not eliminate the possibility of interesting errors and varieties. The challenge for the collector is identifying what is genuinely unusual. That challenge is what makes the hunt exciting. The next time you see a 1987 penny, do not automatically throw it into a jar and forget about it. Look at it carefully. Compare it with another 1987 penny. Notice the details. Study the mint mark. Examine the surfaces. If something seems different, investigate it. Maybe you will discover nothing unusual. Maybe you will discover a common form of damage. Maybe you will find a minor variety. Or maybe, just maybe, you will uncover a genuine mint error or recognized die variety that turns an ordinary-looking penny into a fascinating collectible. That is the real adventure of coin hunting. And while the claim of a $292 million 1987 penny remains unverified and should not be presented as a confirmed current market value, the documented records prove that certain exceptional 1987 cents can sell for far more than their 1-cent denomination. The real opportunity is not in believing every sensational valuation. It is in learning how to identify the coins that actually deserve attention. Because in numismatics, knowledge is often more valuable than hype. The collector who understands the difference between a normal coin and a genuine error has an advantage. The collector who knows how to recognize a true double die has an advantage. The collector who can identify a repunched mint mark has an advantage. The collector who understands grading has an advantage. The collector who knows how to preserve a coin has an advantage. And the collector who verifies information before believing a sensational price claim has perhaps the greatest advantage of all. The 1987 Lincoln cent may have started its life as a 1-cent coin, but the story it can tell is worth much more than 1 cent. It tells the story of Lincoln. It tells the story of American coinage. It tells the story of modern minting. It tells the story of billions of coins produced for everyday commerce. And in the rare cases where a genuine error or variety appears, it tells the story of a moment when the minting process produced something unexpected. That unexpected result is what collectors search for. That is what makes the hunt worthwhile. And that is why, even after nearly 4 decades, a small 1987 Lincoln cent can still make someone stop, look twice, and wonder whether they have found something special.